Well, folks, everyone, it's time to suit up again for another episode of the Soul Sessions. I'm your host, Soul, but with me today, the toxic bitch of pro wrestling, Lexi Luxx. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
An absolute pleasure. But Lexi, everyone has a story, and I'd love to know, how did your story begin with the world of professional wrestling?
Well, my story began really with my dad watching wrestling when I was little,
Mm.
but I wasn't like that into it. I just enjoyed sitting with him. And then I got into a friend group who I had a few friends from my town wrestle, and I went to see one of their shows, and I loved it. It was so much fun just to be around it. And then I started working the merch table, and then I realized I don't want to be in the merch. I want to be a wrestler myself. So I started training.
Was a hell of a story. Obviously, being in the merch table and sort of the environment of the shows, what was it that really grasped you about wanting to transition? Was it sort of like the crowd reaction, the performers? What was it?
1 sec. I just got to move this little child.
Hey, special guests.
Yeah, he likes to be a part of anytime I have the webcam on, he has to be around.
Oh, well, gotta have the manager.
Yeah, got to have the little pro manager. No, but I really just, this sounds so bad, but I really like violence. I think violence is like kind of cool. It's not cool, but like controlled chaos is something I very much enjoy. And the acting and like having a whole new gimmick, like you're not yourself when you're in the ring, you're who you want to be or who you hate, And I just like the whole everything, like the athleticism, the theatricals, and just the people you get to be around.
Not very much so. It's a very tight-knit environment, pro wrestling, a very big family-oriented as well. I want to know, Lexi, as well, character work. I always think it's important. And what kind of characters resonated with you, going into wrestling?
Well, I am a way better heel than I am a babyface. I could put it that way. I started as a babyface, and it was not for me. And I just like figured out my own bitchiness, and I'm just like, I'll use that and just amplify it like times 1,000.
Oh.
And I am very mean in the ring to the crowd, to my opponents, to the refs, and it's a character. I like being a villain. I've always liked the villains in superhero movies more than I like the good guys. They have more like interesting backstories, and they're just more interesting people, and what made them become so evil.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, what kind of favorite media characters that are villains you really like? Is it Doctor Doom, maybe Venom? What are you thinking?
I like Venom because I think he's really cute for some reason.
Okay.
And I would like to own a tiny Venom.
Oh.
But for me, I really, of course, like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy and the female ones, Catwoman. I mean, I'm basically a Catwoman myself, so. But I don't know. I just really like I sound like a horrible person when I say that.
Yeah, it's the world of professional wrestling. Sort of the femme fatale kind of characters kind of resonates with you, I feel.
Yes.
Definitely. And obviously, I've seen some of your clips of your matches on your Instagram, and it's definitely the hardcore style. What is it about that style that really resonates? Is it just like the passion, or like the violence and the full, atrocities you got to create in the ring?
I love blood.
There it is.
I really love blood. I find blood very beautiful, and I don't mind bleeding. And I have had many, many years of mental illnesses, and I was very keen on self-harm since I was about 11 years old. And doing hardcore matches is a way to feel that same pain and rush without actually physically harming myself on purpose. I feel like, well, it is on purpose, but it's different. It's like I said, controlled chaos.
Oh, of course. Would you say it's quite therapeutic then?
Yeah.
Wow.
People think I'm crazy to do it, but it makes me feel more alive. And I need that sometimes in my life.
We all got to have an outlet, to express ourselves and, share our feelings and everything. When I look at those kind of hardcore matches, some may go to ECW in the past, some may go to GCW over in the States. What kind of promotions do you think represent the hardcore style well?
Well, ECW, of course, and GCW, but one promotion that I did my latest hardcore match was PPW in Poland. And they have it like everything is perfect for the hardcore scene. The venue, the fans, the random weapons they choose, like dildos and shit, and they always have medics on scene. It's very professional, and they always have at least one hardcore match per show. And I think for Europe, it's one of the bigger promotions that does have that.
Definitely as well. And, I feel like there's some sort of stigma towards these kind of extreme and hardcore matches. They're viewed very negatively. They're the bad eye on the wrestling world. Do you feel like that's just judgmental viewpoints from these people?
Well, I mean, it's not for everybody. It isn't. And I understand that and I respect that. But I feel like I understand why it becomes like that, because some people take it to like overboard where they get really serious bodily harm and
Hmm.
injuries. And people don't want to like put wrestling in that together because it could give it a bad look. But
Hmm.
I think if you do it controlled and you do it like willingly and don't go overboard just to bleed, like figure out a way to make it look gnarlier than it maybe is. That I think it's fine. I mean, it's very hard. That's a very hard question since I am a hardcore wrestler. I
Mm.
don't want to think that other like normal wrestlers look down upon that
No, I
because
definitely don't think so as well. Because you've seen, wrestlers in the WWE. I think you think of Matt Cardona, who sort of was in that sports and entertainment world, and he's transitions now to the Deathmatch King with GCW. It just shows that you can really progress from one art form of wrestling to another. Do you think Matt's kind of broken down the barriers for deathmatch wrestling?
I hope so. I do
Mm.
hope so because I feel like I think not just Matt, but I think AEW has been starting to do that a lot now too. They've been doing some hardcore matches involving women as well, which is not commonly seen.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
maybe the two of them together is trying to just make it more. This is a subculture of wrestling because
Mm.
there's different subcultures, just like there is in like styles like goth and punk. There's also subcultures in wrestling.
Very much so. You mentioned AEW as well with the women. I immediately think to Britt Baker and Thunder Rose at the St. Patrick's Day show, where they absolutely killed it. Some people rated it one of the best women matches of the year. Bunny and Penelope Ford versus Ty Mello and Anna Jay at New Year's Smash, where they absolutely killed it.
Yeah.
Even recently, Willow Nightingale, Ruby Soho against Ty J as well. Why do you think people maybe have like women, especially in death matches, like kind of that barrier is not maybe broken down as much, and people are still very hesitant about it?
I don't know why. I think it's all to do with like gender roles and stuff that people don't think that women should be into that dirty, nasty violence, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's save that for the big, strong men, I guess. I don't know. It feels like that's a very common perception about it. And I just say, doesn't matter what you have between your legs. We bleed the same blood and we prove it when we bleed.
Very true indeed. We've also seen like GCW break down those kind of gender roles with their world champion. Blake Christian's it just now, but they've had previous women championships. Misha Slamovich is in with Impact.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like world championships should be broken down into that? Not men and women's and just one singular kind of title.
Yeah, because I feel like why not? I mean, I can be just as good as a wrestler as a man, and I should deserve the same title shot that they have.
Very true indeed. Obviously, these death matches as well, they can introduce kind of fun weapons there. We've had Mickey Knuckles on who mentioned the weirdest one she got was a dildo. I mean, what kind of weird weapons have you had passed to you for these kind of matches?
My weapons have been pretty safe, I guess. But I think the weirdest one, or maybe not weirdest, but it looked the most brutal. It was basically a kendo stick wrapped in barbed wire that we
Oof.
beat each other up with a little bit. So I guess we didn't have actually any weird, like really weird ones, because it was already a very controversial match, because it was the first ever intergender death match in Poland. Had never happened before. That
Wow.
a male versus a female in that kind of match. So we didn't want to go overboard with controversial like items to use, because we were already like making a fuss. There was people in the audience who came up to me after, and they're just like, "You're really good, but I don't like that. I don't like that he beat you. You're a woman."
Mm.
And I
Well,
just get like, "Why can't he? I can beat him. He can beat me as long as we do it like safely."
very true. I mean, that's a historic thing to have on your record there. So congratulations for that. But why do you think people, is it just basically like kind of gender roles we've had for the past
Mhm.
odd century and everything, and people are just so hesitant to embrace the new age?
Yes. And you can say what you want about male and female wrestlers. Like, of course, males have different levels of like hormones and testosterone in their bodies that make them more strong and capable, but it's not something that a woman can't learn to do herself.
Hmm.
And I
Definitely.
feel like, why is it not okay for a man to beat me with a barbed wire stick, but it's okay for me to beat a man with one? It's like violence is violence. There's no gender on that.
True, very much indeed. I felt like there's sort of like stigmatization towards women within wrestling with not even what they do in the ring and even like their outside activities. We had Alex Winder on, who's the Rev Pro Women's Champion, and she started an OnlyFans account, and she faced a lot of backlash from wrestling fans saying it's a dirty work, it's something she shouldn't be doing. But she saw it as a very big expressive way to express herself. Why do you think wrestling fans have this negative sexual attitude that like women can't do what they want to do or express the way they want to be?
I want to say there's a lot of incels in wrestling fans. There's a lot of men who maybe don't have luck with women in their real life, and then they see these beautiful women doing wrestling, and they feel like, well, they can own them somehow. It's very confusing, and it's like a something that I can get into for like hours, because it's just like, I think it's just the state of mind of some people. They're still back in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
They're they yeah, they like think that women should be respectable. Women should not like have tattoos. They shouldn't show their tits. And I feel like OnlyFans is like, she's controlling it herself. It would
Mm-hmm.
be worse if it was like maybe Pornhub or some other place like that where they have people controlling what they do. This is like her own page. She decides what she wants to put up. Doesn't even have to be nude. And it's like she gets control of her own body and her own work. And I feel like, why can't she do that? I
Very
wouldn't
much.
have it myself, because I don't want like maybe certain photos of me to be out there forever. But if somebody chooses to do that, I mean, let them. Don't like be mean or calling her a vile woman or saying that she's lost her self-respect, because she hasn't.
Very true. You mentioned there that sort of like people stuck in the past of wrestling. Back in the day, sort of women would be in that managerial role, like Ms. Elizabeth and everything there, and then there'd be a transitional phase where women would actually get more time in the ring. I can immediately think of like Daphne and
Mm.
WCW, who'd kind of pushed that and was actually in the ring. And then we would see the women's revolution, with Trish, Lita, then to Becky and Charlotte. From seeing women's wrestling evolve from that to now, what are some of that brings to you as a feeling? Do you feel like there's work to be done still?
No, I think it's going very well. I would like to see more intergender matches, because it doesn't always have to be female, female, male, male. Like, I feel like just mix it up a little bit and make a show. And one thing I'm happy is that, sorry, my friend came walking. Uh, one thing that I do like how it's evolved is that before, if we go way back, like to the late 80s, 90s, the women were overly sexualized. There was bra and panties matches, and that's what they would get to do for the longest of time. Or having these segments with Vince McMahon and being like doing a strip tease for him to become his manager or whatever. And it's like, at least it's evolved from that to actual competitors in the ring who still can look sexy as fuck, but they actually show that they're also tough as fuck. And I
Very
find that a lot better than the taking off your clothes and fighting for men's views.
the whole sort of dressing gown matches and all that pish back in the day, and just seeing the evolution is kind of there. It's also kind of worrying as well, obviously, with the whole thing about Vince McMahon coming out and that back in the day. It does show that there's a lot of bad shit that, thank God, is now in the past with wrestling.
Yes. So I'm happy that that has progressed, but I would like to see more in bigger companies, because I know smaller companies and indie promotions, they do a lot of intergender. I mean, I almost only wrestle intergender, and it would be nice to see that representation in some bigger companies too, that you can also have. It doesn't always have to be the same gender matches.
Definitely. Do you feel like maybe it's sometimes it's the companies may want to do that, but maybe it's something like sponsors or TV networks that are maybe pushing back, like, oh, well, let's not do anything too crazy when we don't want to make people upset.
That could be a part of it because people might not, the battered woman thing,
Mm-hmm.
So I get that, but I still think it's kind of boring because
No,
as a woman, you're just as capable as any man.
absolutely. You kind of get same old. Let's mix up a bit and change things. I immediately think to, Tessa Blanchard winning the Impact World title of Sami Callihan. That was sort of like a very groundbreaking moment in wrestling. Would you agree so as well?
Yeah.
Oh, it's good to see. I want to know as well, what kind of male opponents would you love to face in these kind of intergender matches? Is there people that you really want to face?
If I'm going to thank people I'm probably never going to get to face because I am a indie wrestler, I would say I'd love to face Darby Allin and then propose to him afterwards because he is my wrestling crush. And I'd really like to do a hardcore match with Jon Moxley. That would be really fun.
Ooh, that would be. I mean, Mox bleeds when he just steps anywhere you go. So.
It would be amazing. I mean, I think it would be the most bloody, most brutal, fun, like ever.
Well,
Because like the other guys that I'd like to face, I usually do face. Like I have faced my trainer and also wrestling colleague Seb Silvers.
mm-hmm.
He is amazing. And it sometimes bothers me because we came up at the same time. We were in that merch table together when we decided we're going to start wrestling. And he has blown up, and I'm a little bit behind.
Oh, long-term rival plans. Who knows where the future may face for you both? But you mentioned Moxley there, and as we're recording this, Blood and Guts is tonight for AEW with the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Golden Elite. I want to know who you think is going to win that match and what you're excited for in that match.
Actually, I don't know because I have been working so much, so I haven't really followed who's going to be on the card. And yeah, but maybe now I'm going to have to watch it because I didn't know that was tonight.
Surprise in the world of wrestling. But obviously, we've talked about, like this hardcore grunge gal, and that's kind of like not only with wrestling, but other media as well, music and shows and TV show. I want to know, Lexi, what kind of TV show characters do you think would transition well into a hardcore style match?
TV characters. I'm like, do I watch TV? Yeah, I do, but I kind of want to say something funny just because I want to see it happen. I want to see the Desperate Housewives do hardcore matches.
Oh, God.
Because I can see them like high heels flying everywhere,
Oh, a true absolute brutality of a match with the heels in one head and then shit all over the other. You just never know what you're going to end up with, Lexi, honestly.
Yeah, no, I actually don't watch much TV, so I got like brain freeze right there. I was just like, oh shit, who am I gonna say?
Hey, it's the modern age. It's all about streaming and all that now. You're going to be canceling TV soon enough and moving on.
I just in general, like I don't have time for anything. It feels like because this summer for me working at a restaurant, the summers are most important, and I'm a manager, so I have to work all the time.
Oh God, never gonna stop for that money. You gotta always make bank at the end of the day.
Gotta get that money because wrestling right now, unfortunately, cannot pay my rent.
Maybe one day. One day, when you get signed to AEW and you're facing Darby Allin in a coffin match, that's when you'll be getting paid. Of course, we'll have another wedding. In wrestling weddings, always turn out where those kind of segments. I merely think of Edge and Lita, and then Impact's had so many. Is there one that maybe sticks out to your mind? Is there a wrestling wedding you think, oh, it's perfect?
The wrestling wedding I liked. Who was it? I think it was. Was it Liv Morgan? She disrupted a wedding.
Oh yeah, she did.
I like that one.
Was it Lana and Bobby? I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, that was an interesting segment and a time back in wrestling as well. But we mentioned other music. Music is a very important thing for wrestlers as well. I want to know, Lexi, if you could have a licensed song as your entrance theme for the big stage, what kind of music would you love to have?
Parasite Eve with Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh, okay, nice pick. Very nice pick.
I like a little heavier, and I just like since I'm the toxic bitch of pro wrestling, it works because it's all about toxicity and all. Yeah, I just can see it. Green light, smoke.
Perfect, all around as well. We've recently heard an announcement from GCW that they're going to go to Japan and work their show there. And, we've got many Japanese promotions, Stardom and everything, doing great stuff there. I want to know, Lexi, if you like to see GCW do some stuff in Japan, what kind of stuff would you love to see?
TLC match.
Ooh, interesting indeed. TLC matches are always a hell of an experience. Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the I forgot Bubba Ray and D1 Dudley. They kind of pioneered that whole match type. I want to know, Lexi, who do you think was the best out of that match type? Ed or Christian, the Dudleys, or the Hardys?
Hardys. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Hardy Boys, especially Jeff. He's gone through a lot.
He has indeed, but he's always came out better, and he's doing great stuff. Jeff has such a historic legacy and connection with fans, either when it was in his WWE Championship run or in TNA, or now what he's doing in AEW. Why do you think Jeff Hardy had such a connection, especially with young fans?
Because I think it's because he seems to be, I don't know him, but I get the vibe that he's very true. Like, he knows that, like, he's had his DUIs and stuff, and he's not hiding them.
Mm-hmm.
He's very honest, and a lot of people, especially kids, for example, they can sense honesty and truthful people and get drawn to them.
Of course, you feel like maybe that's an aspect some wrestlers miss, is that honesty and opening up with their fans?
Yeah. I understand that too, because you do deserve to have a private life.
Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to keep certain things private. But if it comes out like in the news or something, then instead of just zipping up, talk about it. Just let it out there. Give your side. It's out there already. So.
No, absolutely, very true indeed. Obviously with AEW now, we're seeing MJF in his championship run, and he's had the 4 pillar matches with Darby, Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara. I personally think that maybe Darby Allin should be the one to defeat him for the title. Would you agree, Lex, or do you think maybe there's another candidate to end MJF's reign of terror?
No, I agree. I stand Darby, as you can tell. I really would like to marry that man.
Well, who knows? Maybe we'll clip this and tag Darby in it 600 times and make sure he actually sees it.
I mean, I am going to Wembley Stadium in London to the AEW Rampage. He's there. Should I just have a sign, "Marry me, Darby"?
Well, hey, why not? I mean, I'm going to be there myself. I'll just have an arrow pointing to you. Make sure to follow this person's sign. All In's going to be such a special event here for the UK. I want to know for yourself, Lexi, what was it about the show that made you want to come to? Was it that it was because of a big UK stadium show, or simply because it was AEW? What was it that kind of resonated you to travel over?
It's close to Sweden, where I reside, so that is good. I don't got to travel to America, even though I would love to go back home to the States one day, but it is very expensive. And just a bunch of people from my training group are going together. Oh. So we're gonna go. We got the tickets right away. As soon as there was pre-sale, we were just like, boop. And also that's AEW. I love that promotion. When I of course enjoy WWE, but when I really started getting into watching wrestling myself, I started with AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Oh, wow. I mean, very two good companies obviously are crossing over with Forbidden Door. Do you remember what was it about AEW that really brought you into it? Was there a particular match or a time period that made you think, yeah, this is wrestling?
I really got into it with Moxley. I just loved how he was. He was so brutal. Everything looked just so good. It didn't look fake, It was just hard-hitting, loud bumps, the whole shamoo. I just really enjoyed. And I really also like that they have their AEW Dark, where they let indie talent try to do matches, and they don't have to go to any WWE tryouts or anything and get kicked out. They give people chances. And I like that, because as a wrestler myself who is not well known outside of Europe, it's that is a chance for me to be able to maybe get my foot into America if I can get on to one of their dark shows.
Definitely as well. It was always a great showcase of seeing these kind of independent stars get that chance that they may have not got with WWE or any other kind of promotion. Obviously, the internet fandom as it is, it's a bit of a shithole, I would like to say. and they always view AEW as a very negative thing. But why do you think people always viewed AEW so negatively? Is it fear of change or competition?
I think it's because they're like grown up with WWE and they don't like seeing anything that's not WWE, which I get because they kind of really kickstarted the big promotions in America, and I get it. But at the same time, it's 2023. There's allowed to be more than one big promotion.
Very true indeed. It seems like that brand loyalty can backfire and have a toxic aspect on the person loving the promotion.
Yeah.
That's the way we live in this world. But obviously, you mentioned Mox there, 3-time AEW World Champion, dude's kicking ass. I want to know, what's your favorite Mox's match from AEW's history?
Oh, it was one of it. I think it was one of his more like hardcore ones.
Ooh, maybe Exploding Barbed Wire Death Match from Revolution, maybe? Or
I do like barbed wire, so I gotta be scared. Like, I'm worried about what I say here. People are gonna think I'm a psychopath and lock me up.
The Still Sessions, it's a free reign. Say whatever shit you want. Besides, it's Scottish. I'm a Scottish guy. I don't give a shit. World's the oyster.
I do like Scottish people. I'm actually going to Scotland now in August.
Oh, nice. Not too bad.
So I'm doing a femme fatale fatal four-way with Ruby Roberts, Alice Inc., and Stacy. Something. I don't know her last name.
Not too shabby indeed. Obviously the Scottish scene here is thriving as it is. ICW, Pro 2 Wrestling, everything. What was it that made you want to come over for Scotland? Was it just the appeal of the matches or promotions?
So I've been working several times for maybe like 2 years with Luke King Sharp.
Oh, nice.
And done some seminars with him. He's a good friend of mine, and he wondered if I would want to go to Scotland and give it a try there. And I'm like, absolutely. And I had already had a hardcore match with Ruby Roberts, and I love her. She's even though people think it's so funny that I'm so good friends with her, because in that match she did break my nose and give me a concussion.
Oof.
All's well ends well or something.
Yeah, that's a nice saying. It's a nice saying.
I love her. I mean, it was an accident, of course, but it's funny because we always use it to attack each other in promos. We just use it.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. But you mentioned Luke King Sharp there, who's a hell of a talent in himself, and learning off him. What were some of the best things you learned off Luke King?
To hold my breath and close my eyes if using light tubes.
Fair. I think that's hell of a fucking advice.
Yeah, because he knows that I'm very into hardcore, so he's been like coaching me a lot. Like when I was going to go to Poland and I was freaking out, I talked to him and he's just like, okay, do this. And he's like, yeah, and if there's light tubes, don't breathe it in and close your eyes and you'll be fine. He's like, you're tough. And I'm like, yeah, I am tough.
Tough as nails. But you mentioned a light tube there. I mean, I've seen like Nick Gage matches with light tubes in, and they look like they fucking hurt. I want to know, do they hurt? Or do they?
I've not had one. We were gonna have it. We had one in our match, and it was me smashing his face into it.
Oof.
But they usually just explode into little powder. But if they break, they are very, very, very sharp. Very sharp.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think with the
razor blades, and I was traumatizing my child. I have this little 18-year-old child. That's not my actual child, but I adopted him from work. And we were sitting here, and I was showing him on TV the hardcore match has gone wrong.
Oh,
light tube, and he just gashed his whole arm up, and it was hanging off. And yeah,
that's a hell of an image.
He told me to turn it off. I wasn't allowed to play it anymore.
Fair dues indeed. Obviously Nick Gage, he's a guy in himself whose love of deathmatches transcends everything else in the world. You think like Nick Gage will be remembered as maybe a deathmatch god, one of the icons of this kind of industry? Or do you think maybe there's someone else?
No, I do. I think he would. I feel like there's many people who can do that, and he can definitely do that too.
Definitely as well. Why do you think kind of like these death matches are, sort of like, what's the next evolution for them? I want to know, like, where can we go from there? Do you feel like it's got what it loves to do, or do you think there's maybe more that can be done?
I don't think there could be, and I don't think there should be, because more to be done would be literally killing each other in the ring. and having it to be an actual death match where somebody dies.
Mm.
And I don't really I think we're already like where we can be. We can add new weapons and stuff, but in the end, like you can't actually kill each other. So
Well, true, true. We want to avoid that at the end of the day. But obviously, with death matches and everything and ultra violence, there's championships. You know, TNT has one. They have the ultra violent. GCW have their ultra violent. Is there
PPW
a
has
yeah?
a championship.
Do you have one that you want to aim for?
PPW, because that's the closest right now I could do. I mean, I even have a tattoo that says ultra violence.
Hey, shows the dedication.
Yeah, but I got this before I even like knew that they had a title like that. But they do have it, and I've already faced their former deathmatch champion. So why not again?
Exactly. Why not again? Go for the gold. But I've always loved in history of wrestling custom championships. Jay Briscoe had his custom Ring of Honor. Cena with the spinner. If you were to win that championship, Lexi, how would you like to put your own custom spin on it?
Probably fake blood or something. So it looks like it's like dripping down from the letters.
Oh,
I
okay.
bleed in almost all my death matches because I'm a very good bleeder.
Hey, got to bleed. You got to bleed at the end of the day. Make that money. But also, you know, we've mentioned music. I want to know about attires as well. What kind of attires would you love to incorporate in the future from, you know, superhero movies or media? What kind of attires?
Hmm. I like where I'm going. I'm not going to say too much because I'm currently working on a new gear
Oh,
that
keep the
I
secret.
very much enjoy. But I always want to have, at least as long as I am Lexi Luxx, I would like to keep the thing that I've had going since the beginning, since as a face and now as a heel, and that I always have to have some kind of something with neon green.
Hmm.
And I like my gear is kind of, it reminds me of the villain Shigo from Kim Possible.
Oh,
Lime green and it's very black and it's like very like gothy.
hey, that's a good pick at the end of the day. You know, I was thinking sort of like Poison Ivy going that kind of route.
Nah,
Nah.
she's too she looks too pretty.
Uh,
And
like
it
Shigo's a good pick. Stick with Shigo. Hell of
yeah.
a pick.
I like Hugo because she's goth and she has my colors. So I also would I mean I wouldn't mind. I can't, but it would be cool to have green fire on my hands to do that in the end.
Ooh. Oh, that'd be fucking cool. You got to find a way to do that. Find a chemist or something.
I'm gonna find a chemist. Maybe we could figure it out. I will figure it out somehow.
Figure it out somehow. You know, I want to root back into All In. You know, I've always asked guests, you know, who are going to the show or hyped for the show, you know, what kind of matches do you want to see? I'm assuming you want to see maybe Darby versus Mox, or is there a particular match you want to see?
Well, I definitely want to see my two favorites, which is Darby and Mox. It would be fun to see a like maybe like a tables match, tables and chairs or ladder match.
Hmm.
That'd be fun. And I also highly enjoy watching tag matches. I like tag.
Oh, okay. That's a good pick indeed. You know, obviously with All In coming up, a lot of people have been speculating. You know, some people spec that we're going to get Moxley versus Eddie Kingston, or we're going to
Hmm.
see Darby retire Sting. What out of the two would you love to see more? Darby retire Sting or Eddie versus Mox?
Eddie versus Mox. They're both badass. That would be a really good like match, I think.
Oh hell yeah! I'm guessing you'd love to be that a TLC match or maybe a barbed wire match
Yeah.
or
Yes.
like
They're both hardcore kings, so
they very much are indeed. You know, Eddie's doing great stuff now, winning the New Japan Strong title. He's in the G1 at the moment. I always think that Eddie deserves to win the AEW World Championship. Would you agree so as well?
yeah, I do. I think he's worked hard for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, I go back to my mind of, you know, first seeing Eddie was the whole TNT Invitational against Cody. It seemed like he was kind of slept on his whole career. I know he did some stuff in Impact and everything, but why do you think it took until then with the whole TNT Invitational for Eddie to get recognized?
I think it's maybe this is gonna sound horrible, but maybe he's not like visually appealing as some other wrestlers.
Hmm.
He's not big and strong with the biggest muscles and oiled up and stuff. He doesn't look maybe like a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
And I mean he isn't one, but in people's minds they have a picture of how a professional the I can't speak the professional wrestler should look. And I feel like some people might not think that he looks the part, but he has clearly proved that he knows what the fuck he's doing.
Indeed, he does because he's loved by everybody and he's Eddie fucking Kingston.
Exactly.
Now, Lexi, I appreciate your time coming on the Soul Session. I want to end with a dream scenario. Let's say you and Darby have the manage, everything's going well, but you need a mixed tag match, a couple tag match. You and Darby versus any other wrestling couple. Who would you want to face and why?
Miz and Maurice.
Ooh, the Hollywood couple versus the hardcore couple.
I find that being like a fun thing.
Oh, I'm thinking it now. That's it. Main event of like a WWE AEW cross show. Fuck it. Book it, Tony. Book it, Triple H. You've got your match.
Exactly. It would be great.
Absolutely, indeed. But well, Lexi Luxx, thank you very much for coming on the Soul Sessions here. But what I love to do with every guest as well, if you've got dates coming up for your shows, what can fans see from you in the future?
Well, 5th of August, I have Scotland for CCW. Femme Fatale Fatal 4-Way. You can keep an eye on that. And that's probably right now what I know. I will be at the Malamer shows. I manage my boys, the Merseyside Mercenary Squad, Dan Evans and Scott Oberman, and I will always be by their side when they're in the ring. So if you want to come see me there, you can do that. Or you can come see them because they're great. So
yes. Lovely family. But viewers, don't worry. Lexi's Instagram will be in the description of this video. You can click it, follow her, and keep up to date with the toxic bitch of pro wrestling. See? Easy as always. But hey, thank you everyone for tuning in for another episode of the Soul Sessions. I have been Soul. She has been Lexi Luxx. Thank you, everyone.